What we do with Parent Summit Africa is to help parents experience an awakening that will cause them to take a part to creating a change in themselves individually, as well as commit to raising a wholesome 21st century child. And as we do this collectively, we are building the kind of society that we want to see. Our mission with the Parent Summit Africa is to create a platform that equips parents with the skills, strategies, and resources for self-transformation and raising wholesome children. Our vision is to effect social and societal change through parenting education, especially to change the narrative of Africa and the African child. Hi, my name is Vivian Okoye. I'm the convener of Parent Summit Africa. I'm a certified child psychologist, a parent coach, and a trained doctor of optometry. Parent Summit Africa is powered by our online parenting school, the Vivian Okoye Parenting Academy. We started Parent Summit Africa in 2017 to gather parents from all over the nation and beyond to start up relevant conversations around raising a wholesome 21st century child, as well as thinking about our contribution to sustainable development and nation building. We do this because we believe that at this point, our plan as a nation for sustainable development should shift its focus from just systems, institutions, and policies to actually creating a plan and strategy for a change in the attitude and mindset of its people. Because the people drive these institutions, the systems, and the policies. So if on an individual level, we're able to get it right with our attitude and our mindsets, then we can drive the institutions and policies in the right direction. Until we are able to do this, until we're able to create change in attitude and mindset on an individual level, then we will not experience any tangible change.
Hi, welcome. This is our final session for the day, and I'm super excited for this one because most times we can struggle when we're doing the right thing, but the other people who have access or the other institutions who have access with our children are not on the same page with us. How can we have that conversation? How can we foster that collaboration without being confrontational? Because sometimes you also get confrontational and then that puts your child at risk, right? So this is really a very important conversation because yes, we want to raise mentally strong children, but then what are other people in our children's life doing to ensure that that vision or that goal is met? Today we have the amazing Mrs. O, and like you know, I don't like to read the long, boring bios, right? If I brought someone to Parent Summit Africa, that's because I believe the person, and the person is aligned with our values, is aligned with our visions. The person has the expertise, the person has the experience to share on this platform, and trust me, there is no other person to do this topic the what's the word? I'm looking for the word, but there is no better person to have this conversation with us than Mrs. O. Mrs. O is a school leader, which also puts her in a position to share a vast range of experiences with us. She's the school leader of Safe Hands School. If you're in Abuja, Safe Hands School is one of the best schools in Abuja. Safe Hands Schools is the school that is run by the House on the Rock, Abuja, and she is the school leader there. So, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, welcome Mrs. O as I bring her to the stage. Welcome, sis.
Yay! Good evening.
Thank you for agreeing to do this. Thank you for sharing and thank you for your time. So I would leave you to do your thing, and when you see me back on stage, just know that but yeah, we would be very lenient with you because this is our last session, and if our audience permits, we'll be a lot more lenient with you because it's our last session. But yeah, do your thing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and thank you for this great opportunity. Good evening, everyone. Like Dr. Koye has said, my name is Oluwatosin Ladipo. Everybody calls me Mrs. O, and I'm the head of school at Safe Hands Schools, Abuja. So today we're talking about parent-school collaboration for raising mentally strong children. I'm a great storyteller, so just sit back, relax. Hope you have your drink, hope you have your water, your coffee, whatever it is, and please just keep me very, very active on the in the chats with your questions. So here is and please follow me. I'm sure you're thinking in your head, we are here for parent school chat, but please just follow this gist. You'll get it eventually. So this is the Demure family, and you can see dad, mom, and son. Let me call dad Joseph, mom Mary, son Joshua. And this is a typical family. I will call them a family at Safe Hands. And I use Safe Hands loosely, could be any school, but this is the one that I'm used to. What we're trying to create here is look, as a parent, what are those things that you look out for in a school when, how can we have that win win situation where the decision we're taking is in the best interest of the child? Anytime a parent is seated in front of me, regardless of what that thing is, I will say to them, the decision we will take here is in the best interest of the child. I've been known to say to parents, I don't look at your face. I will not see whether you are smiling, even if you are frowning. We need to agree here because what we need to do is in the best interest of the child. I mean, that's my mantra. And so we have the Demir family. I just like the word Demir, to be honest. It's not like it means anything. And they are parents of Safe Hands schools. And here is Big Bull Rice. I'm sure you're wondering, what has this got to do with parenting and collaboration? But let's go on this journey. So I'm sure a few weeks ago, all of us saw these things online and we saw the sachet of rice for 100 naira. So we are seeing the Demir family and they are on their way to drop their son, Joshua, in school. And the driver is there, and they see this, and husband and wife are on social media and they see this and they start to speak. And I need to mention here that Mr. Joseph Demir is a business and economic analyst. So in seeing this, he just taps his wife and is like, look, what's this all about? And they're trying to speak, but then they're looking at their driver because if you have something like this, it means that it is biting hard. Why would she, and that's the name, and this is not any brand endorsement, it's just because of for me to be able to elaborate and to just explain my point here. Why would a company like Chi suddenly start making small sachets of rice? And Mr. Joseph is thinking to himself that if things are biting this hard, how is their driver, Mr. Kazim, how is he faring, And it begs to think that there's a company called Chi and they don't want to lose market share. And they have to think, how can we be resilient in this economy? How do we, because the very first thing you would think of for a company when you're facing inflation or whatever it is, I mean, many companies are facing high energy costs, inflation, and all of those things. Cost of living has gone very high, and then cost of doing business in Nigeria is just cutthroat at the moment. And then you start to think to yourself that what is making Chi do this? Why are they going this route? They don't want to lose market share. This is where resilience comes in. And they look at themselves, that is Mr. and Mrs. DeMille, and they're like, look, a company can be this resistant. A company can not resistance is not the word, I apologize. Resilient, they want to stay, they want to bounce back. If companies can do this, how are we raising our kids? This is the reality of the world that we find ourselves in at the moment. And he starts to talk because he's an analyst to say, yes, we know Chi business as a company, right? But the truth about it is that this decision to make this small sachet of rice was done by a group of people. If you have in companies, you have R&D, you have you have strategy, you have comms, you have what have you, and they have all come together and decided that, look, we don't want to lose our jobs. What do we do? Because the truth is, everybody eats rice. You will want to eat rice. I mean, we still saw recently where I think I saw that they had started to open up spaghetti and had selling it in smaller chunks. So everybody is just thinking of how to survive. And then you start to think to yourself, and Mr. Joseph is saying to himself that, look, our son is 5, but it's not too early to start thinking, how does he adapt to the changes that would happen there? The truth about it is that the world is very uncertain. And they're saying, as parents, this is who we are, but the environment that we take our children to, how do they feed our child such that that child can stand and bounce back like chi? Follow me on this journey. And it takes me to this framework called VUCA. If anybody knows me, this has been my I think it has been a slogan I've been using for almost 2 years now. And what VUCA means is volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous. Volatile in the sense that it says the environment demands that you react quickly to ongoing changes that are unpredictable and out of control. Uncertain is the environment requires you to take action without certainty. Complex is the environment is dynamic with many interdependencies, and ambiguous, sorry, is the environment is unfamiliar outside of your expertise. This is a framework used in business. It's something that was derived from the military, and it has been on for years. And so businesses are able to strategize using VUCA. But I'm going somewhere. Children that we are raising are coming into a world that is volatile. At the moment, even if you run your business, you know it's very volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. So my question to us right now as parents is, how do we react to these things? Because you see, we are the adults in the environment. The way in which we react to things will eventually rub off on the children because they watch what we role model. And so, if you are very, very concerned about raising children who can fit into a world that is very uncertain, it begs to say that you are to find an educational institution that understands these things and is able to help your children to adapt regardless of what they see. Meaning that I'm not interested as a parent or a school in creating a what's that word now? Some form of simulation as to, okay, in the next 5 years, this is what it would look like. Is to say I have put strategies in place that regardless of what my child sees, my child will thrive, my child is resilient. We're still talking about Mr. and Mrs. Demille, that is Joseph, Mary, and Joshua. See, so I'm going to the next slide. As a family, they have something called core values. And I am stating these things so that you are checking and you are asking yourself, as a family, what do you want to be known for? Who are you? When people say the Demille family, it means, and I'm going to go to the next slide, you will see what they stand for. Core value drives your behavior, influences your attitude, and defines who you are. Because that you see, sometimes I use the word core value as the environment that you want to be known as. When you get in, so hasn't this ever happened to you where you go into a place and you can tell by just watching people moving up and about what kind of home or what kind of business this is. It's the same thing as your core values. Those are the things that you are known as, you are known for. So with this Demille family now, imagine, and it is just hypothetical. It can be anything for you, but this is what they want to be known as. They said as a family, and I wrote TDF FV, it is the Demille family values. What are your family values? For them, as far as they're concerned, if you want to describe the Demille family, is love, joy, peace, long suffering, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, self-control. And I would tell you what this means. It means that when they are speaking with their children, as in when they are raising their children, when they're taking their children to places, when they want to be defined by something, they want to be defined as love. It means my child understands what to love. My child understands joy. My child understands peace, long suffering, meaning my child is able to endure a lot of things, have resilience. Because when you look at this, embedded in something like long suffering is resilience. Because resilience says that regardless of what I face, I have long suffering and I can bounce back. There's kindness, there's goodness, there's faithfulness, there's gentleness, and there's self-control. I'm going somewhere. So remember that I said the Demille family, they are parents of Safe Hand Schools, and these are their values. So when they were bringing their son Joshua to the school, they sat with the head of school to say, this is who we are as a family. You tell me who you are as a school. So I'm asking you parents here on this call, have you actually had that kind of conversation with your child's school? If you haven't, this is time to have it, because you see, there is something called shared value and shared vision. When you sit in front of a school, what informed that decision to pick that school for your child? How do you know that school has that enabling environment to bring out the potential in that child that you're taking there? And so the TDFVs have stayed in this school because this is who they stand for. Now, let me share. I share these things because that's the kind of conversation you should have with the person in the position of authority. One of the things that I established, and it's a given there, is that no parent comes into the school without me having a conversation with them, because you've met with the marketing team, you've met with the different departmental heads, you've met with the admin team, but then you need to meet with the person in the position of leadership, because leadership determines the culture of the place that you're going to. Sometimes hasn't it happened to you where you sit down with people and you can tell the kind of person that they are? Remember that I had said something about core value. You sit in an office without you interacting with them directly. You see the way the people mix and the way they interact with each other. You can already tell, oh, this is a toxic environment. And so you sit down with the school head and you're having questions. By now, you should have a lot of questions as to what the school is like. Who are you as a school? Your mission, your vision, your values. Do you understand? How, for things, and you know, you should have highlighted the things that matter to you as a parent. I'm laying the foundation so that by the time we get to what the homeschool partnership should look like, it will be very clear what it is that we're talking about. And so here, for example, is Safe Hands, right? You should have this for your child's school. Who is your school? So if I sit and I speak with you right now, that Safe Hands School, what is our mantra? What is our strap line? It is that we're building kids for life. And this is where a parent should hold me accountable to say, what are the things you've put in place to build my child for life? Our vision, sorry, here is to become a leading institution. And this is not I'm going somewhere with this information so that we can see what the thought process looks like, to become a leading institution providing outstanding holistic education which maximizes learning for every child. And then I said to be able to achieve this, my mission is to provide high quality Christian education that delivers a transformative learning experience to all of our pupils. And then you ask me, what kind of environment do I have in the school to ensure that we're building kids for life in which resilience is embedded? You have RISE. Our core values are respect, integrity, safety, and excellence. So I go back to TFBD when they're having a conversation with me as the head of school, is to ask that, okay, Mrs. O, in respect, what do you mean? You can't, if you don't love somebody, you can't respect them. What does integrity look like? Do you understand? It is that thing of delayed gratification. It's that thing of, you know what, I am who I am, whether in front of the door or behind closed doors. Safety and excellence. Now, this very, very interesting slide, future of work skills. If I say I am a school that builds kids for life, what am I embedding in them? And you know, and Dr. Koya, I must thank you for this, because this took me on a path that I didn't know that I needed. And in looking at the future of work skills, it's interesting to know that resilience is a skill that employers are looking for. So I keep saying to people that, yes, fantastic. If your child is getting into, your child wants to get a job, you're fantastic grades, you maybe finished with the first class, you know, completed your NYC, have all these masters, but you sit in front of your potential employer and they're beginning to say to you the things that they're looking out for. Yeah, you're intelligent, but analytical thinking and innovation. There's something here that says leadership and social influence. It says resilience. It says creativity. Why would employers be looking for this? And what is the import of this kind of information for schools as a school leader? One of the things that we do, and I have a huge, fantastic, supportive community of educators. These are the things that we sit down and we look at, that how can we help the child? Parents are trusting us enough with their children. What are we able to do to ensure that these children, we're preparing these children for life? We don't want to see a child 10, 15 years down the line, and the child is looking at us and is like, I don't like you. And I'll give you a practical example. About 2 weeks ago, or is it up to 2 weeks now? Probably, I was at the Wimbi's conference in Lagos. And it's interesting. I always say to my friends that when I go for these things, I want to see things from the eye of the educator. When I sit down for things like a plenary session, I am looking at it as an educator. And I'm doing some form of backwards planning to say, if somebody from the finance sector is seated there, my question would be, what could the school have done better? Do you understand? If this person is sitting here, if you were to ask this person that, okay, Go back 15 years. What would you have loved to be taught in school? There was a session, and I think I put that on Instagram because that one really, really stood out for me. There was a session on the entertainment industry. I think what piqued my interest there was I wanted to hear, particularly if you have all these Gen Zs, it's difficult to even understand the songs that they sing, So I wanted to know what's in this sector. Because the interesting thing is that plenary session was saying the creative and entertainment industry is an economy that people should diversify and go into. So I went there and I sat down. I sat down with the lens of an educator. But you see, I can be telling you all of these things as a school leader, but I'm also a mom. I'm a mom to two. They're almost out of their teenage years now. My son is in first year of college. My daughter is in second year of her A levels. And my son is studying electrical engineering. And it's interesting to note that as he's studying electrical engineering, he's very, very involved in the media and entertainment space. He's the kind of child that is organizing events. He's the kind of child that is creating content. He's doing video editing, all of those things. And it was very, very disturbing for me. Sometimes we're having conversations and we leave those conversations very frustrated because I'm asking myself, this isn't what I sent you to school to do. Why? What is all this, And it took me listening to that plenary session, and it took me listening to somebody called Jadi Chibero. And it's interesting to note that she's a systems engineer, but here she is with making movies. I mean, I hear there's a movie coming out, Christmas in Lagos on Prime, and she wrote that movie. And you see, it gave me some form of solace to say that, okay, I'm not alone in this space. I have a child who is very much in the tech space, but is doing a lot in the creative industry space. Why did I bring this up? I don't have to. In fact, I'm sure my son is going to probably kill me to hear that I brought it this year, but I'm saying that as parents, where is if the future of work, employers are saying we're looking for creativity in children, we're looking for resilience. There's something called the gig economy. So children have their hands dipped in everything. How are we as school and parents and the home, how are we bridging that gap to ensure that our children get the best of everything? Are we limiting them? And I sat there, I listened to Jadi, and I realized as a school leader that there's so much more that I can do. If you know anything about me, I'm very expressive. I see things in pictures. If it is not clear, if I can't visualize it, I do not understand it. And I'm sitting here listening to someone say, yes, I studied engineering, but I'm making movies. And I look at myself as a school leader that if a parent sits in front of me here and you have a child and you're butting heads with this kind of thing, what are you going to say to the child? I'm going to tell you that you had better sit down and calm down and drink water. In fact, I have my water here. Let me drink it. So you fully understand what I'm saying. Calm down. I told you to bring your water. Because see, where these children are going, which is why I took you to that slide on VUCA. It's very uncertain. The future that they're coming to does not exist yet. So how are schools preparing them for it? How are you in the home preparing them for it? Particularly you parents that want them to be either doctor, lawyer, or engineer. I still spoke with a parent today who is very sure that their child is going to go into tech. I just looked at them and I smiled because I've seen it all. If I am going through this now, your child is still 3 or 4. Who told you that the tech space is going to look like what it is in another 10 to 15 years? And see, let me give you a typical example of this future of work skills. You can see something there called creativity. So when we sat back and what these are the things you should ask your children's school at the end of every year. Have they done a review session? What went well? What didn't go well? You can't tell me that the curriculum that you're using you've been using the same curriculum for like 5 years. How? Things are moving so fast. Can your children compete globally with children in China? I remember about 3 years ago when I had to flip what I was doing with my year 6 students. I said, how am I preparing them for secondary school? As much as we say mental health, resilience says how elastic is this child? How much can I stretch the child before the child bounces back? I'm not one to undermine, I'm not one to overlook mental health, but I'm also one to ensure that our children have grit. They have to have it. And so I looked at my year 6 students and I said, they're going to secondary school. They're going to boarding house. Some of them don't even know how to boil water. What are the things we're going to do as a school? The entire year 6 is prep for secondary school. And see, anybody who knows me knows that I like K-drama. So I have been watching a lot of K-dramas. I've been seeing that the Korean educational system is one that I can't even wrap my head around it. If you watch them, the children go to regular school, finish about 2 o'clock. Then they go to what is this thing called now? I'm trying to remember the name. I can't remember, but it's called something where they do their test prep. And so one of the very first things that we did was that, see, I am an advocate for year 6. For those of you that take your children out from year 5, side eyes to all of you, let your child do year 6. There's content for year 6. So one of the things that we did was there was learning. Classes happen. But before then, the children have test prep classes. So I split a learning content for year 6 and test prep. They're 2 different things. Because what test prep is looking out for is what's that thing called now? Speed and accuracy. So this, because I know these children will probably go into boarding house, have they learned to wake up early? So their classes start at 7:30, meaning that you must be in school by 7:15. I do something called management by walking around. You see me in front of the school gate every morning. I'm looking at them. As you are coming, I'm saying, Zara, you are late. This is 7:38. Your class, you are not walking, you are running to class. Because guess what? Secondary school is not going to pamper them. And then the parents will look back and be like, oh, the school didn't prepare them. Can I do my best? Am I going to take off what the parents need to do? Absolutely not. But we will collaborate. So children have 7:30 to 8:30 where they do test prep. All I'm looking for is building their skills on speed and accuracy. Then 8:30 to 2:30, you do the content of year 6. You take 30 minutes break. Then you come back at 3 to 4 and you do your test prep. Guess what? These children, this is my 6th year on this role. Year in, year out. When I speak to the parents and I ask them, they're like, the children are running. And that's the thing about Maria Montessori, one of the legends in education, that says the job of a teacher is to ensure that the children walk like the teacher is not there. How independent is your child? And so I'm going to the next slide. And here it says resilience is an ability to recover or adjust easily to misfortune or change. How are you preparing your children for failure? And I keep telling people, fail is first attempt in learning. Get yourself up. There's a song by Aliyah. Dust yourself up and try again. It's not the end of the world. And you see, why would the World Economic Forum put resilience as a skill that employers are looking for? Because he says here, resilience is a key skill for the future of work because it helps employees adapt to change, learn new skills and handle challenges. Is your child going to be calling you every day when they get to work? Mommy, help, mommy, help, mommy, help. Before your child gets to that independent stage, what systems have you put in place? You see, it's very difficult for us in school if you don't have a system running at home. I love to sit down with parents who sit with me to say, this is what we're doing at home. Mrs. O, how can you help? Then we have a conversation. But working like we're 2 separate important entities in a child that cannot work. What I have come here to say is that, see, parents and schools, you cannot fight. We cannot fight. You see, and I put here, I mentioned it before, backwards planning. And I think some in the science field is called reverse engineering, where I see the end. So for every time the World Economic Forum updates the skills needed, I sit back and I say to myself, how can I embed this in my curriculum? I need to ensure that my children, when they get into the market, job market, they're fine. I need parents to understand that, oh, if Mrs. O has put this in place such that my year 6 children wake up at 7:30, what can I start their classes at 7:30, meaning they need to be in school before 7:15. If my commute to school is 45 minutes, what time do they need to get to bed? That kind of backward planning. And we are working together, right? And so you sit back as a school and you start to plan those things. I remember having this conversation with a parent. One of the things that I do at work is the beginning of every academic session, I have something called the back to school night. I don't have to have it, but I have it because guess what? I want to be able to share our plans with you as a parent to say, this is what we are thinking of. What are your thoughts? And I remember looking at this information from the World Economic Forum, and it says there that, look, creativity, critical thinking is a skill that employers are looking for. And I was like, yeah, you can always find that in the core subjects, your math, your English, whatever it is, your reasoning tests. I wanted more. I wanted it in non-core areas. I wanted it in a very subtle way that the children don't even know that that's what That's the skill that we're trying to build on. And so I just went and, we just looked at the entire value chain of what we're providing, the learning experience in school. And we went to clubs to say, what can we take out of here? 2 years before, we had taken out taekwondo and introduced self-defense because I think it is every child's right to be able to defend themselves. We just picked out chess. And I'll tell you why chess. Not that I do not want children to go for competitions and win. It is the thinking behind every move you make on that board. I want to be able to sit with a child so that the child will tell me, I moved with the king, I moved with the bishop because of this. See, your children are going to face bullies. They're going to face all sorts of people. Are they able to step back and think? When they take a decision, can they come back to you to say, Mom, I did this because of this? My next slide. Purpose of education. In all of these things, we're building momentum, and I'm looking at my time. I'm sure Dr. Vivian will soon be here, but I'll run along. What is the purpose of education? Why are you sending your children to school? See, the US Department of Education says it's to promote student achievement and preparation for global competitiveness. Have you heard this? There's this school of thought that in schools, every child should get an award. I like that, but not the academic ones. The academic ones have to happen because out there is dog eat dog. Have you prepared your child for the time the child will fail? Let me give you a typical example. And like I said, please just don't tell my children that I've mentioned them here. My daughter graduated as the valedictorian of her secondary school. Extremely cerebral, extremely intelligent. She decided to go a funny route, A-levels. If you know A-levels very well, you know that that is the beginning of a lot. First year of A-levels, she struggled. You know what we did? She never went into boarding house. And we realized that to build that resilience in this child, we threw her in boarding house for A-levels. She was in a different school, she was meeting boarding house, different people, doing a tough course. Guess what? We were there every night. When she calls, when she's crying, we made sure we were there. When there were issues, we escalated. I'll give you a typical example. There was a particular, so they're doing quite a lot of weekly tests. And there was like for like 2-3 weeks, she didn't tell me anything about her grades. And I was wondering, what's wrong with this girl? Why am I not hearing anything? And the way my house runs is good cop, bad cop. When mom is being tough, dad is nice. When dad is being tough, mom is nice. And that's the balance that we create in the house. And I suddenly heard that she was flunking one of her courses and she didn't tell me. You see, I quickly checked myself. This is me that I'm consciously trying to get better with parenting. So I'm asking myself, why would she not want to tell me? And that's that thing of academic pressure. She is used to passing. She has never failed. Like she has never failed. Failure for my daughter is probably 85%. And suddenly she's having scores that are ungradable. She couldn't believe it. And that was information for me immediately that we haven't prepared her for failure. How resilient is she? She cracked, she crumbled at the sight of her first failure. And it told us that we still had work to do. And I'm grateful she has 2 years of A-levels before she goes into college. And so I'm asking us as parents, what systems have you put in place? Because as a school leader, I have put it. Sometimes some things are skewed in such a way for the children not to achieve much. Not because I don't want them to, but because I want to see how they would act. And see, education is not preparation for life. Education is life itself. You see, what we did when we realized that my daughter was struggling in class, because we had to, the educator in me wore my cap immediately, and I said, what's going on, darling? And we started to unpack it little by little until I realized that I don't doubt. And I'm here to tell parents that every teacher teaches. The question you should ask is, did the child learn? If the child didn't learn, then how are you expecting the child to do well? So immediately, see, middle of the night, we sent an. So as much as I'm a school leader, I'm sharing an example for you as a parent as well. That night, we sent an email to the school. Sorry. Immediately, dear principal, so and so is struggling in this. When is it a good time to have a call? I can't remember how my husband drafted it, but it was like, you had better respond to us. See, we sent the email about 7 p.m. About 8 a.m. the next morning, we had received a response, and we were on a call by noon, and we sorted it out. And one of the things I did immediately, I was talking to the principal is, see, we're not fighting here. I'm not doubting that the teacher has taught, but my child didn't learn. It's particularly unsettling for me for a high flyer. But guess what? That's the problem you have with a lot of high flyers. They're not used to failing. Sometimes did you ever notice that if you were in school, it was those people that used to coast, those middle, I'm not passing today, I'm not failing. You look at them in the market, job market today, in industries, they are doing well because they've mastered failure. Like I said, failure is first attempt in learning. Okay, the first time they taught you didn't learn. Let's go to the next one. And immediately I readjusted myself to say, may I never put myself in a place where my daughter is unable to tell me that she's failing. So yeah, you're failing. We cried. We cried very well. And for me, it was a trigger. And I'm so grateful for the speaker who came before me. That parents, please forgive yourself for your mistakes. Because this thing took me back to my childhood. Let's see, I may be speaking a lot of English here. Growing up, I was not the smartest. In fact, I had more reds on my report card. I struggled not to be the last in class. You see, my head snapped in my MBA class because my friend looked at me and said, all of the information we need to pass, you have it. Why are you failing and we are passing? You see, as simple and as almost sarcastic as that statement was, it got me thinking. I provide things for people. Why am I not using it? It just took me back to the fact that I didn't see myself as intelligent. So I had taken on a disposition that was not good. Taking it on like, what's going on here? And it took me back. And you see, so many of us have parental wounds that we need to heal. Did my parents raise me? Yes, they did. Did they make mistakes? Absolutely. Do I love them? I love them to bits. Am I going to replicate the things they've done? No. Because I know better. They did the best they could at that time. But as a parent right now, I have looked at the future. I understand what the job market is doing, and I am doing my own plan in reverse engineering and speaking with my child's school to say, these are my concerns. These are the things that I see. You see, there's something that schools give children. It's called agency. It is when pupils are able to navigate their way through life and positively impact their circumstances. It's ensuring that you are the master, not the victim of their circumstances. And it is about students being powerful, not powerless in the face of adversity. So tell your children, adversity will come. Who are you? Look at Chi now. Did I not tell you? 50 kg of rice has now become, is it a half cup or something? What they just told themselves, well, we are not going to run us out of the market. We will find a way. And the people who thought about, that idea came from some people, which could be your child tomorrow. If your child is not able to master himself today, how is he able to run an establishment or run a company? Because when issues come up, you have three ways in which you can go. You can either sink, float, or swim. See this picture. I love it because there are two elephants. Those elephants one is the home and one is the school. Can you see the grass is the child that suffers? If you lock heads like this, you will just keep stepping on the children. See, I have come on behalf of the school system to beg parents. We are not fighting. We can have civil conversations. We can negotiate, but we shouldn't fight. A video went viral a few weeks ago about a parent who came to slap a teacher in school. Why? I say it every time. Respect is a core value for me in the school. You will respect us, we will respect you. You cannot be going in, you can't be passing, and then maybe, let's say, for example, in a school, and then you see a security guard, and you talk down to the security guard, and your child is there. How is that child supposed to respect the security guard? See, homeschool partnership, at the heart of this conversation we're having today is the child. The child is the main character. The collaboration between schools and families form the cornerstone of a child's success. See that collaboration. Effective school-home partnership creates a seamless bridge between learning environment and nurturing a supportive ecosystem. If you don't take anything out of here, how are you nurturing a supportive ecosystem? Excuse me. Maria Montessori said, to assist a child, we must provide him with an environment which will enable him to develop freely. See, Maria Montessori said that there is something called a prepared environment. A child doesn't just come into any environment, it is prepared. How prepared is the environment? If the school does this and the home does this, but you don't come together to discuss that this is who we are as a home. You know, sometimes you sit in front of a school leader, by the time you discuss what you're looking for, you'll find out that that school is not the right fit. Are we picking schools because our friends are there? Or because you understand that that place is the environment that can build that resilience? Remember that we've looked at what employers are looking for: resilience. You see, this is data and it can be checked anywhere. 71% of students report feeling overwhelmed by school demands. Some schools are unrealistic, and I'm saying this. According to the WHO, 1 in 7 children and adolescents experience a mental disorder. Resilience is strongly associated with mental health in children and adolescents. What are the external factors that face children today? Academic pressure. I've given you an example of my daughter. Social media influence, peer expectations. Internally, anxiety, low self-esteem, emotional struggles. Sometimes I look at children and I can tell they are looking for someone to say, "You look good today." I was saying to my team this morning that I'm not particularly friendly. But see, this job requires me to be out there. I stand in front of my gate every morning as much as I can. And I'm welcoming the students, I'm welcoming the parents. What they don't know is I'm looking. Sometimes I can tell the homes that they've had an argument in the morning. You can tell in the child. A child is crying coming to school. That day is already horrible. You see, mental strength in children, resilience, we've spoken about that, emotional regulation, problem solving. Let me read this quote. It says, strength doesn't come from what you can do. It comes from overcoming the things you once thought you couldn't. How many times do you hail that child that you know has been struggling with this and suddenly gets it? It boosts their morale. See, parents, encourage independence while providing support. Must you be there? Must you give everything? It took, I think there was a time my son said to me, "You don't allow me to struggle." And I realized that I was always there. So can I be a silent parent at the side watching them? Watching. Wait for them to ask for help. And I realized that my doing that was is a trigger from things I haven't healed from growing up, where I'm trying to ensure that my children don't go through what I have gone through. Who said they shouldn't? How would they learn? Set clear, consistent boundaries. Foster open communication at home. Like I shared here, I can't stand here if I don't tell you places that I've struggled. I'll be lying. Daily emotional check-ins. My children are not home. I'm an empty nester. I'm picking up the phone and I'm calling. How are you doing? Sometimes I see that they're not in the mood. I'll just send a message. Are you good? Can you take a call? I just don't barge in and call like that. Do you have problem-solving discussions during family time? Create family time if you don't have one now. You see, this thing, social emotional learning, self-awareness, social awareness, self-management, relational skills, responsible decision making. We had to integrate this into our curriculum about 3 years ago because you know how when we were growing up, all your mother needs to do is to give you the eye and you understand it. Social awareness, when children get into the room, can they read the room? Can you tell somebody that doesn't like you? Because we all want to be liked. Do you know how to act? Can you tell can your children differentiate between somebody that is being mean or someone that's a bully? Self-awareness, how much of yourself do you know? How confident are you? Self-management, relational skills. Can they make friends? Can you remember that in the World Economic Forum, that document there, leadership and social influence? Some of you will still be telling your children you're talking too much. Hello, networking is a skill. Like I said, I went for a conference, Wimbies, and we have people that came for 2 days and didn't get anything because they didn't know how to speak to people. Imagine you're sitting next to somebody who probably is supposed to be able to help you in your business, but you don't know how to speak because you have low self-esteem. Responsible decision making. You see, when our children face challenges, not if, what's their disposition? And it takes me to that thing about grit. When you hear grit, you go fixed and growth mindset. In fixed mindset, it says ability is static. In growth mindset, it says it develops. Who told you? You know, some of your children will be like, have you seen them when you give them work? They'll be like, "Ah, it's too difficult. They avoid challenges. They give up easily. They see effort as fruitless. They ignore useful criticism. Let them get used to criticism. Not everybody is going to like you. Like today, I had to send a message to my middle management team, niceness versus kindness, because appraisal is coming up. How do you groom somebody? Because I told them niceness, being nice is selfish because you don't have that person's best interest at heart. Niceness is people pleasing. Kindness may come across as tough, but kindness in the long run, the person will like you for it. Do you teach your children that they should be kind, not nice? Because in niceness, you don't want to hurt somebody's feeling. I'm not saying be a brute, or just say things without regulation. I'm saying be confident enough to be able to tell somebody. Give constructive criticism. In growth mindset, abilities develop. You embrace challenges. You persist in obstacles. You see effort as necessary. How many of you know that thing? I just celebrate every effort, every milestone. Learn from criticism. Put a sieve in your ears. When the person is saying, what's this person really saying? I mean, some of us really need to work on how we deliver the criticism, right? But it is, listen, where's this thing coming from? You see, the role of schools, I've already spoken about this, social emotional learning. But in going through this, then I will touch on something that one of the things that we did to develop our children for the future of work, our CSR projects, the corporate social responsibilities. I had looked at a report about 2 years ago, and I saw somewhere that Google looks out for people with empathy. And I started to think to myself, how do I help my the children in this school, to develop empathy? Corporate social responsibility. We picked an underserved, an underprivileged school on the outskirts of Abuja, and we decided to give back. I deliberately did that because we have children that are cocooned, children that have never suffered, children that have a lot of nannies, and I said, no, that's not the reality. The world is very different. So it was very easy for them to pick a school and sit down in their very comfortable, very cool, AC conditioned classrooms and go and meet mom and dad for money and just buy something and never visit the place. I said, no, we will do a needs assessment. What I just did was to scale what project management looks like. So I said, we will do needs assessment. I called in experts. They gave them details, what fundraising looks like, how do you set up a project, like literally simulating what it would look like when they work, because I'm preparing them for the reality of the fact that when they want to start looking for jobs, you're going to be in the same job market with these children, even though they don't have access to the things that you have. And so in doing all of those things, they came up with a very ambitious budget. I smiled. I said, these ones don't know what I'm up for. And as at that time, about 2 years ago, they wanted to raise 1.2 million. I said, fair enough. How do you intend to raise it? There are 12 of you in the class. I'm sure you're thinking, if you divide 1.2 million by 12, 100,000, when you go and meet mom and dad, they will give you. I said, no. And I got the parents to agree with me that they wouldn't give them that kind of money. I said, let us start thinking of fundraising strategies to be able to raise this thing. There were big sales. These children wrote a faith-based devotional. It was adapted into a stage play that was ticketed. You should have seen them running to get the money, because I said you should not feel entitled to the money in your parents' pocket. It's their money. So you could see the pride. They set out to raise 1.2 million and they raised almost 4 million. And they were so proud of themselves. Absolutely proud. That was 2 years ago. Remember that I said this is something that I have put in the system. So last year, with the way the economy was going, I was tempted to cancel it, but I said no. If we have embedded empathy into the CSR that we are doing, let's go for grit. Let me see, would they be resilient? What will happen? They went the whole 9 yards in coming up with a budget, what they wanted to. They already knew that Mrs. O is not going to agree for us to just go and meet our parents and fleece them of some money. You have to put things in place as to how to raise it. You will go on TV campaign. They did all sorts. And so they said they wanted to raise, I think it must have been 2.5 or something million. As at the time they were ending towards the end of last session, they had only raised 1 point something. But guess what? They didn't give up. What I wanted them to realize with that thing was that sometimes you just don't hit the mark. Do you stop? That is growth mindset. So I said to them, yes, we wanted 2.5. Now we raised 1.2. What can we do with 1.2? So you will scale down to say we may not be able to buy X number of desks and chairs, but we can do something. You see, it may look small, it may look like I'm over the top. Yeah, I hear that a lot, but 5, 6, 7 years down the line, when they sit in the company and they're trying to do things, this foundation has been set and they will always fall back. And none of these things, we didn't do any of these things outside of the support of our parents. And because I know we're running behind time, this is what collaboration with between schools and parents look like: regular and open communication, shared goals for students' well-being, workshops, and joint activities. One of the things that we did at work is to have class parents. So yes, there is a bigger parents community, but I have representative in each class, and I'm every morning I'm speaking with them. This is what we're thinking of. What are your thoughts? They will come and tell us. Sometimes the conversations can be very tough, feedback can be very painful, but we get that because see, at the end of the day, the decision we're making here is in the best interest of the children. The common barriers that we face in collaboration is misaligned expectations, and that's why I've said before you put your child in the school, find out if their values align with yours. Communication breakdown, he said, she said. Always ensure that you hear both sides of the story. Solution here is set clear guidelines for parent-teacher communication, shared value, and schedule regular progress check-ins. When last did you go for the open house? Or you just, I speak with it. I have some parents that when it is time for open house, they don't, there's nothing to do because they're engaging the children daily. We have parents like that. And if that has not been you, and we know that parents can be tired, walk up to the school to say, look, I have a busy schedule. How are how are we how can we work? I have parents who will come for their conference on a separate day. We would arrange a virtual student, but you must attend. In fact, we don't just do open house, we do student-led conference. The child sits down with you. The child, because you remember that I said we have back to school nights. When you are doing that, you meet with your child's parents and we set the tone and the goals for the year. And so if anything is going off track, you're coming back and having a conversation with the teacher. So that by half term, the child is sitting down to say, you set XYZ goals for me. This is where I'm at. This is where I'm going. These are my challenges. And three of you, the home, the child, and the school, you go back to the drawing board to say, oh, this didn't work. This would work. And you keep doing it. Like I said, decisions are made in the best interest of the child. Like I said, attend school hosted events, tools for collaboration for parents, for the schools. Ensure that you see the line of communication is open. And parents, please, I'm begging you, if the school said that they've closed at 5 o'clock, please don't send message at 6:30. They said I should tell you. And of course, call to action here is, as parents, commit to consistent involvement in your child's school life and foster a culture of collaboration and shared responsibility. Finally, adaptation is not for the half-hearted. It demands the relentless pursuit of improvement, a refusal to settle, and an unwavering commitment to becoming the best version of yourself. Thank you.
Whoa, 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 whoa. That's all I can say. That's really, really all I can say, because this was very, very detailed, very, very thorough, and it was very, very insightful. Thank you. Thank you so much. Guys, please, if you have questions, please drop it. Someone says Mrs. O is a real gift. So, guys, please send Mrs. O her accolade, I beg, because this was very, very insightful. All right, someone has a question. It says, my question is this, ma'am. As a school owner, do you offer such training to fellow school owners or educationists? I'm really interested in following your model. I would love to know. So, yeah.
Yes, I do.
Yes, so that is a business for, you see, collaboration. So
Absolutely.
so please if you need to reach us to get Mrs. O's contact, we would send it across to you so you continue that conversation outside of this place. Someone says, how do I manage a situation where my toddler in pre-nursery comes back home and is repeating certain words he hears his teacher says in school? What kind of words are that?
Exactly. I was
So
going to ask.
let us know what the words are. Let us know what the words are, then that would inform how we would address that question. Someone said this is quite revealing. Someone says, Mrs. O, you are the GOAT, greatest of all time. I wanted to say goats, but I don't like
Good.
how I wanted to say goat, but I don't like the sound of that. Someone says inspiring. So thank you so much. Please, who was the person?
So the question, Dr. Vivian, I'm sure what she meant is probably a bad word or something that they don't use at home. What I will always just encourage parents is to have that conversation with the school. Like I said, feedback is always painful, but I hear it. If you come and you're like, I'm hearing this thing, is to even
All right.
mention it back to the school. Has she
She
confirmed?
yes, she's come back. She said he says things like you Abi, while pointing his fingers.
I mean, you know that thing I said about communication, we're not even fighting. You've come, you've escalated. Do you understand? You see, which takes me back to parents ensuring that you're in a school that has an escalation and de-escalation process. So that if you have spoken to the class teacher, how does the school get what's it called now? Feedback. I have come, I have parents who would accost me at the gate to say, Mrs. O, I do not like this. Immediately, I'll just tell them, please hold on, I'll get back to you. So, their parents, please speak with the school. Let the school ensure that they tell you they will get back to you and follow up. But what I would do as a school leader is when that gets to me, I go back to the parents. I mean, we all have the things that we say. I mean, we're on a what am I saying now? We're on a general call here. Dr. Vivian, if we are chatting in WhatsApp, it's not the kind of thing we say here. There's a way you speak colloquially, and there's a way you speak when you're on a professional call. And to let the parent, the teacher know that this is unacceptable, right? And to tell them not to do it again, and to put systems in place that ensures that the teacher doesn't do it again. If the teacher does it, there are penalties. Ultimately, if I see that that person does not align, the person will be let go.
Yeah,
But as a parent, please just ensure that you let the school know that
no,
that is happening. Yes.
it's just about communication, and what is being
Absolutely.
said is that as important as how it is being said. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you're listening to me and you're in the UK, for example, I have told a lot of people, white people are not used to confrontation. So
Yeah.
your normal Nigerian voice can look like confrontation, right? And when it is being reported, the
Mm,
tables will not turn against you. It will become a
mm,
question of harassment. So if, for
yes.
example, you're here, you're listening, and you're in the UK or you're in the West and you want to make a complaint to a school, put it in writing
Absolutely.
so that what you said will not be misconstrued. Nobody will say you
You're
said
right.
what you should not say. So write it, put it in writing, send it to the school and table your complaint. That's what I tell people who are,
Yeah.
in the West. In
Yeah.
Nigeria,
That's good
we
stuff.
understand ourselves. We can talk, but if you're
Mm-hmm.
if you're talking to
Mm-hmm.
a white person,
Mm-hmm.
just even the way I'm talking now, it will look like you're being confrontational. That cultural,
Mm.
disparity is there. So that you will not be misunderstood, so put it in writing, right? So someone says that we'll take a few more questions because this is our last session. My son loves going to school and gets so excited about going to school, but lately he cries when he sees the school uniform and when it's time to go to school, though when he comes back he is so excited.
Yeah. This is something we see all the time. And guess what it is? So a child who is not used to the rigor of school would rebel against it. I'm not taking away the fact that there may be something happening there, i.e., let's be very sure that there's no form of bullying or manhandling. But if all of that has been excused, some children just don't like work, some children can be a bit lazy. So maybe they've gotten to the stage where they're asking them to write. I was let me give you a typical example. I was talking to my niece about 2 days ago, and we're trying to make her sound my son's name. She's out of the country. So she looked at us, Ayonfe Oluwa. She got very confused. I said, I'm not doing that. And we're looking at her, what do you mean you're not doing it? She said, I'm not doing that. And I thought to myself, this is what is happening with children when we're asking them to stretch a bit, they don't want to do that. And that may be what is happening. Like I said, please always, like Dr. Vivian has said, you may have to write, but in Nigeria, once you have a conversation with somebody in position of authority, they would listen. Let's be sure that there's no form of manhandling. And that's why I encourage you to ensure that your child is in a school that has CCTV so that you can check just in case something is happening. But if that has been taken out of the equation, let's be sure, let's ask the teacher, have you introduced something new? Is the child learning something? What are the challenges? Having a conversation with the teacher in the class to be sure that, oh, this child is a happy child in school. And I'm sure from there we're able to get things. But you just said if he's a little child, most children want to sleep. And schools are asking them to write 1 to 100. Of course, they will complain.
Someone says, aside corporal punishment, how do you enforce good behavior among school children? We no longer use canes, and parents don't want that too. So how do we go about it, having taken out the cane? We don't even use cane in these communities.
We
Like
don't
you're
use cane, no. The thing that we've introduced at school is we have social contracts. So it's the very first thing we do when we resume. Every student with the teacher, we sit down. This class is our community, it is our country, it is our nation, it is ours, not the teacher, it is ours. What are the rules that we want? Even the children will write it out and will suggest the consequences without cane. So you suddenly see the children take ownership of those things. You find they tell on each other. Hello, Miss Shola did this. We said according to the social contract that if you say this, you would get this. And they start to look for very creative ways, because the truth about it is that there needs to be consequences for bad behavior,
yeah,
or else we'll just have a society that is just warped in many
yeah,
ways.
yeah.
So sometimes it's a conversation. If you know the child very well, there are some children that, even let's say there was cane, even
Mm.
if you beat them from today to tomorrow, nothing will happen. Need to have
It
those children.
doesn't really because
Just
it
one
doesn't really
sentence.
doesn't teach anything, does it? It just inflicts
That's
pain, but it doesn't really teach
absolutely.
the skills that are required to overcome that behavior, which is what you want
Mm-hmm.
to achieve. The
Mm-hmm.
only thing you
Mm-hmm.
do is you just make the child shrink away, which doesn't
I've done that. Mm.
result to the resilience and the mental strength that we
Yeah.
and the curiosity that we want to teach them as well. So it's really counterproductive. If you
It
are in
is.
our community, we have a lot of conversations around consequences, around how to come about consequences, around how to enforce consequences. So please,
Mm,
if you stumbled on this video and you didn't register, make sure you register so it takes you
mm,
into the community where you then get access to resources and
mm.
other things that we're offering. Then this is a follow-up question from the other one. She said that she had spoken to the teacher and the teacher feigned ignorance. So how do I escalate to the school administrators without putting my child's well-being at risk?
That becomes very worrisome for you, because the minute you start to fear that, that means that there's a problem with that system.
Mm-hmm.
Because you should be able to work up in, so, and that's why I said that escalation process. Once the teacher doesn't do anything, please go over the teacher's head and go straight to the administrator, because guess what, it's your child. Decisions taken in that place is in the best interest of your child. I've had parents sit in front of me to say, oh, I'm worried, I don't want this to affect my child, and I'm like, it would not.
Yeah.
I'm going to call that teacher and I would say, you should don't. You see, and that is that thing of us as people learning to take feedback. And
Mm-hmm.
not everybody is that mature. So once you, even as a school leader, is to put systems in place to let the teacher that you are addressing, because it's feedback and it
Mm-hmm.
hurts. Let's be very frank.
Yeah.
Say, I am addressing an action, it is not you. Separate
Mm-hmm.
yourself from what has happened. We
Yeah.
need to ensure that this child, because you see, safety is also emotional.
Yeah.
So how can a parent ensure that their child is emotionally safe in your class, and that you will not become salty and pick on that child, and you start to work on that person? We are all work in progress. But please, whoever asked this question, please escalate and let them know what your concerns are. I always give it up for parents who are honest enough and vulnerable to say, I'm very worried that by giving you this feedback would impact my child in this and this and this. And I'm quick to quickly call the teacher to say the parent is thinking this. Please make sure
Mm.
this doesn't happen. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for this powerful power. It's as if we saved the best for the last. So thank you, thank you. Everyone is saying thank you in the chats. Thank you for sharing. So if you have more questions, please go into the community, drop them. We will collate them. We'll try as much as possible to answer them. We have a few announcements. This summit was powered by Minds and Wellbeing Network. And Minds and Wellbeing Network is our organization where we provide mental health education, support, and therapeutic support to parents, to individuals, to families, to organizations who want to train their staff around mental health. We provide therapy for those who want to overcome trauma and who want to navigate the challenges that they're facing, or who are feeling stuck in their personal life, in their parenting life, in their marriage as well. Also, this event is supported by Smartphone Productivity Club, and Smartphone Productivity Club is an organization that helps your children learn digital literacy. And the goal here is that your children are not just consumers in the digital world, that they're also producers, that they're using their smartphones as smart devices productively. Before we end, please let's share with you some of the
Hello, my name is Tochi Opara. This is my 8th year being a mom. And one day somebody said to me, I love the way you speak to your children like they're adults. Man, I laughed. But I can tell you for free that I wasn't always like that. In fact, as a first-time mom, I was living a life of default. But from the moment I encountered Dr. Vivian, enrolling in the Vivian Okoye Academy, and also attending Parent Summit Africa, things changed a whole lot for me. I became a more conscious and intentional mom. I began to understand exactly the way to connect and address the child I have in front of me. Like she always says, it's all about understanding the child you have in front of you. We just bonded better, and even to discipline. In fact, there are so many things I can outline, so many benefits that I can outline since I encountered Dr. Vivian. And now that the Parent Summit Africa 2024 is around the corner, you should register, because I'm sure you want to raise a mentally strong child.
Thank you so much, Dr. Vivian. You've been a great source of support and inspiration to me. Learning from you has taught me a lot over the years. You have truly made me a better father and parent for my kids and entire family. I took my first course with Dr. Vivian's Parental Academy in July 2021. That's Ultimate Parenting Bundle, and it was amazing. And that was after following her on Instagram for a while. Thanks a lot. Thank you so much, ma'am, for all you do and for the impact that God is bringing to families through you. God bless you and fulfill His purpose for your life in Jesus' name. I look forward to this summit, and I know that it is going to be a blessing to everyone. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Phoebe. I live in Nigeria. I'm a mom to 3 adorable children. My first encounter with Dr. Vivian and Parent Summit Africa was sometime in
how
2017.
children are raised today as compared to how we were raised in the past. Parents are now concerned about screen time, concerned about how children use social media, or how their children interact with tech devices around them. My name is Frederick Nnamdi. I am a tech YouTuber and educator. My organization works with schools to offer digital literacy education to children, promoting personal well-being through technology. And it's quite an honor to be talking to you today, all thanks to Dr. Vivian. And I believe that we're learning so much from this online summit so far. I'm going to be talking about how you can boost your child's mental well-being and self-confidence using digital literacy. Now, I'm going to bring a scenario that I've experienced a couple of times in class. Now, in these schools that we work with, we usually ask that the children come with their own tablets or laptops so that they can be able to actually use their device and take it home and show their parents what they did in school. Now, there's this set that will come with theirs, and then there's this other set that won't come with theirs. And when you ask the people that didn't come, you hear two things, either of two things. My mommy said I'm going to spoil it, or I do not have. In the course of the class, we do even tell them to pair with the ones that have, but you notice a kind of response from the ones that did not come. They are more, lost in the class or kind of feel intimidated by those ones that already has, because you see those ones that has, they are super excited, they are willing to do whatever thing you want them to do, they are just all geared up for the class. Now there's another thing I noticed. Maybe we are teaching Canva design for using Canva to design any form of graphics, maybe birthday. Then we ask, how many of you have ever used Canva before? You see this particular child or children that will be like, yes, I've used it, my mommy taught me, yes, I know how to use it, I did this. Their interaction in class and their confidence in class when compared to the ones that don't know is always different. They are eager to ask questions, they are eager to answer questions. So you can see how keeping your child away from digital literacy or equipping them with a tech skill is already impacting their confidence in class. And of course, children, once they feel they don't know like every other person, it begins to enter into their mind. You should know that digital literacy is a must for your child, because it is going to help nurture these 3 essential life skills in your child. The first one is creativity. In creativity, if compared to how we were raised, if you want to know a creative child in the 90s, it's only children that can draw with their hands, like I used to draw on the ground, or mold things, or just do some, or go get straight A's in school. But today, a lot of children now have smart devices. If you're going to now test, a test of creativity is now on what children are able to produce using technology. So you don't want your child to be left behind while every other child is, moving forward. I always ask parents this: if your child is put in a room full of children from different parts of the world, does your child has the strength to compete with them? Can your child still speak? If they're talking about HTML, if they're talking about Python, if they're talking about Canva, if they're talking about video editing, if they're talking about animation, Maya, mentioning all of these things, will your child stay like this and look at them? And trust me, it is actually affecting their mental well-being and also their self-confidence. Now, the second thing I talked about was problem solving. Now, problem solving is just about how children are going to be able to leverage digital skills to carry out tasks, perform, solve problems. Digital literacy helps them to actually learn about the skills or the tools that they can use to leverage all of those devices, the tablet, the laptop, the smartphone around them, to be able to get things done. Right? And then lastly, I talked about resilience. Resilience is now about how are they going to be able to stay in one thing on their device until they actually complete something. Now, this is where I would like to encourage your child, or encourage you to get your child to actually play video games. Now, there's a huge clause to this, but some video games actually helps your child in acquiring problem solving skills and also resilience. All right, so resilience, creativity, and problem solving are essential life skills that digital literacy helps to nurture your child on. I've said a lot of things, and probably you're beginning to think, Frederick, what do we do? All right, if you're in that boat, now this is the juicy part of another juicy part of what I've said, because everything I've said, it should be juicy, right? I mentioned the organization that I run and co-founded, by the way, and it's called Smartphone Productivity Club. Now, you might hear smartphone and you think that we teach the children about smartphone, but yes, it's also about equipping your child with tech skills or the digital literacy required to actually make effective, productive, and responsible use of their smartphone. Yeah, if your child owns a laptop, it's also good. If a child owns a tablet, it's also great, or an iPad is also great. It's all about what digital literacy. Now, there are a few things you need to know about our program. All right, so our program is designed to boost your child's confidence. All right, we designed a curriculum that can help foster creativity and as well mental well-being. We are trying to build your child to stand in any platform and compete with any child of their age. for the sake of maintaining or fostering global relevance. And guess what? Because you are attending this program, Dr. Vivian has just secured you 30 whopping percent discount if you wish to enroll your child in our program. Now, there are a few things you need to know. Number one, we're going to offer free consultation. We're going to offer free time with you to learn about your child, because we believe that there is always the right tech skill based on the potential or the natural disposition of your children. We don't actually encourage every child to go and learn how to code. We also say you can learn animation, you can learn graphics, you can learn web design, you can learn any other skills based on what the child loves. Because I always say this to kids, no matter what you actually become, no matter if you're becoming a doctor, if they grow into engineer, if they grow into whatever, if they do not understand or know the technology that applies to that field, then AIs, robots can easily replace them. So this is why ensuring that your child learns a tech skill today while they are still young, we do two things. Number one is going to help them to be responsible, because they now have a good knowledge or well educated on how to use their devices productively. We're going to also equip them with skills that will help them use their devices to improve on their education, just as we are also equipping them with essential digital skills to help them achieve global relevance. At Smart
Thank you so much. Thank you for joining. Thank you so much for being with us throughout the 3 sessions. I hope you got value. And this is to inform you that we're not just sharing these tidbits and letting you go. We are creating an implementation plan for you to hold your hand for 30 days to help you implement these lessons and help let it stick for you and with your child. So please, if you did not register, I keep saying it because there are a lot of things that you will miss out on if you do not register and if you're not in our system, right? Because we share a lot of resources via emails and in our community, whether it's the WhatsApp community or the Telegram community. If you registered for the summit, then you would have gotten emails that redirects you to the WhatsApp community or the Telegram community. Please do join those communities. We don't bombard you with irrelevant information. Our community is rich, our community is intimate, we call it our village, right? If you did not register, if you happen to stumble on this video randomly on YouTube, please make sure that you find the link to register. I would actually just put the link in the description of the videos right now. So please put the find the link and register so that you come into the community. Thank you once again for joining us today. Tomorrow we'll start again at 5:30 and we have 3 sessions just like today, tomorrow. Amazing sessions. If you know any parent who has an autistic child, who has a child with ADHD, who has a child who is neurodivergent, please bring them in, because we're speaking about how to foster mental resilience and emotional being for children by parents who are raising children who are neurodivergent. So bring everyone in. You yourself, even if you don't have a child who is neurodivergent, it's important to come and learn, because understanding how neurodivergence work helps you to accommodate people who are neurodivergent in your community and in your environment. There's so much to learn about neurodivergence. Is information, is knowledge that can be helpful for many of us, especially those of us who live in Nigeria. You can even find out that some of these difficulties that you're having with your child, or some of the struggles that you're having with your child, is because of unidentified neurodivergence. I myself, I didn't know I was neurodivergent until a couple of years ago, because I had moved to the UK and then I had some struggles and I went for assessments and all of that. So please show up. There is no session on this summit that you say, oh, this is not for me. Every session has information, has knowledge that will be relevant for you. Please show up, and please don't come alone. invite someone to come, share the links, share the events with people, with your loved ones, with your community, with your family, in your family WhatsApp group, in your alumni WhatsApp group. Share it on your status. That's all you can do for us, because this is actually free. We have done it free for you. So please do a bit for us. I'm begging. Share for us, and share your feedback with us. If you're in the community, please go on WhatsApp, go on Telegram, share your feedback. If you learned something today, please share on social media, and use the hashtag Parent Summit Africa 2024, and get people to hear about the amazing work and the amazing things we are learning here. So thank you once again, and have a wonderful evening. See you again tomorrow evening as we continue the journey and the learning. Thank you. Bye.